All right, these have been soaking for a week, almost, but they are now grease-free. If you have some surface rust, it's not a big deal. I'll put these in the EvapORust bucket. This is a little bit more corroded than, say, that piece, but that piece has some pretty heavy corrosion on it too. But I would be surprised if by the end of the day they're not perfectly clean, pure metal. The EvapORust works great for soaking, but not for cascade washing on large areas. But for this stuff, it should be perfect. All right, so I put him in. He doesn't quite get covered, but we can flip him over after a couple hours. These guys I'm wiring up. I have found that the landscapers, when they put the oak trees in the yard, they use this wire to hook the stakes to the trunk, and the shit is great because you can bend it real easy, and it doesn't rust, and so I use it for all kinds of hanging stuff. And so I'll hang this guy in so that I can get at it when I need to. And then I'll put those guys on a wire and hang them and be good to go. One of the nice things about chelate over electrolysis is that it's not line of sight. And so pieces can be touching, doesn't matter their orientation, as long as they're in contact with the liquid, the rust will come off. All right, so next I'm going to finish cleaning this up. There's still globs of, I believe, undercoating on here, and so I'm gonna go ahead and heat it from the back side with my heat gun, which I got when I was a teenager to shrink monocoat on radio control model airplanes, but it's still going strong. So heating on the back side seems to melt the goo that touches the metal, and so it peels off a lot easier in my experience. And then I lugged this thing in from the backyard, and I think that those tubes push out with a crowbar, that they're just kind of squeezed in there. They have like a name, like a dummy tube or something, so I need to drain the fluid out of him and then get to taking that base apart. Him I'm not going to soak, but I am going to replace the seals and the rear diff cover gasket. I want to try to save that vent tube because the new one's $35, which seems like a lot of money for a little piece of tubing, just out of principle. And then I got to figure out how to take this hub out. And I'm guessing that it's these bolts. Could be that I have to slide hammer it out. Not sure. We'll have to read the book. And then that's all going to get painted with Duplicolor brake caliper red, which is on Derek's RX-7, and it's kind of a dull, darky, tomatoey red, which should match reasonably well with this old paint that's still on there. So that's what we're doing. All right, a quick update. The stuff that looks like undercoating is not oily or greasy or tarry. It actually just scrapes off all dry. So I'm going to switch to a wire brush on a power tool and burn through that real fast. So I took off the nuts and bolts that hold that bottom plate into the frame, put them in here. I was able to pop those dummy tubes or whatever they're called out with the crowbar. So they're gonna soak in the degreaser I think I'm going to see if I can get him draining so I can pull the lower brackets off and the bottom plate so that they can begin soaking in the degreaser too. So there we are. Alright, draining the fluid. It doesn't smell. It smells, but not bad. No signs of metal shimmeries or anything. So fluid's all clear. Flowing out nice. So well, I think we've got a good story here. So I'm gonna let that drain. Probably go ahead and take the safety wire out of here so I can disconnect it and get these parts soaking. Alright, this came out pretty easy, just for record keeping purposes. On each of those bolts, there was a thin U-shaped spacer here on the inside. One of them was split in half. So I guess I'll have to order more, but I think I'm going to go ahead and blow this apart so it can soak, and then call it a day. Hey, just pulled this out to check it. It's clean and up nice. See where it was still sitting out. I'll just leave it in for tomorrow. Clean it up nice too. Alright, Sunday, August 7th. And so what we're going to do today is I'm going to wax and grease remover this, and then I'm going to take it out back and coat it with nope, change that. I'm going to weld that crack up, and then I'm going to take it out back, coat it with a paint stripper, which will hopefully get any remaining paint and other goo off of it. Then I'll power wash that off. I have parts from one of the half shafts soaking in there, at least the parts that I have. The rest of it's still at the machine shop. Those will then go into the EvapORust. These I just left overnight, and most part they look all clean. There's red coloration on there. I'm not sure if that's rust or if it's the primer that they use, but I bet it brushes off. So we'll be cleaning these, and they will be ready for epoxy primer. But I'm going to start with the horns for Derek's Audi. One of the studs broke off, so I'm going to drill it out and rethread it. Alright, so I used the cut-off disc, ground down the remains of the stud, filed it flat. So now I'm going to go ahead and begin drilling out progressively bigger holes to get to the point where we can thread in a 6mm former bolt, but soon to be stud. Alright, so I've got the hole started. There's a boss that's already fixed inside the horn. So I've drilled it out with my cobalt bits. I fear it's a fastener, so it's probably pretty hard. And then I'm putting it on this 1-inch socket because there's a flat area right in there, so I can get a straight drill. And now I'm going to use the last bit, which is a 13/64, which is what you need to do a 6mm tap. So should be done here. Derek and I tested the horn, and it does indeed work. So, all right, I got the hole drilled out, got the 6mm tap. I'm going to put some cutting fluid in there, and then go ahead and wind that down. By the way, last night Brian Clausen got into a really bad wreck and got airlifted to the hospital and was in critical condition. If you don't remember, Dad, Brian ran quarter midgets with us. They were just finishing up as we were getting in, and so when we did our first race in Sacramento, and we had our little open trailer, they stored our car inside their trailer. So hopefully everything works out for Brian. Last unofficial report was that he had been upgraded to stable condition, so we'll have to see. Well, not sure how to play this. So, holes drilled, but I don't know how deep I can go. The problem is that the tap is fluted, and since it's fluted, there's no threads for the depth of my hole. So, the horn still works. We'll go ahead and drill deeper. Alright, there's the half shaft. After soaking in EvapORust overnight, I took it into the utility sink, wearing gloves so I don't get any more oils on it, and wiped it down with a wire brush, and like some black stuff comes off, but it's all nice and perfectly rust-free metal now, so it'll sit out here in the Texas sun. Finished drying. I blew it off to get any deposited water off, but it should be 100% dry here in about 35 more seconds. Alright, so you can see these all came out really nice. They're all perfectly clean. There you can see the different textures from where it was rusted. Had the surface rust versus not. So the when I paint these, I'll probably just epoxy prime them by hand, and then follow up with the Valspar implement paint for tractors, and I'll hit the sheet metal pieces there with a little bit of 80 grit just to give it some tooth, but the open pores in the cast iron should provide plenty of adhesion, so they'll just get wiped down with wax and grease remover. So now I gotta go pull the parts out of the parts washer and get them ready to go into the chelate, the EvapORust. Just as a fun comparison, there's one of the half shaft U-joint pieces, I'm not sure what the technical term for it is, that has been chelated, and one that has not. And again, the nice thing about the chelate is that, unlike blasting, it doesn't rely on line of sight. So wherever the liquid's touching it, the rust will be removed. So if there's like paint, there might be a little bit paint right there, a little black dot. The chelate won't remove that unless rust is snuck up underneath it. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this second batch of stuff and let it go. It'll probably be there all week, but the chelate won't touch non-rusted metal, so we don't have to worry about that either. And I'm getting ready to put this batch in. You can see that the U-joint covers are pretty heavily rusted there, but as we saw before, that'll come right out. These don't have very much rust on them, but there is like a little bit in the sand part of the casting, so we'll put those in. They'll get all clean. The dummy tubes that go in these have a little bit of a orangey tint to them, so we'll go ahead and dip those too. Oh, and there's the other U-joint piece that we just showed outside. I need to pull the remains of the rivets out, and then I'll wire them up and hang them in the pot. Alright, I'm going to start putting that back in a line so I can weld it. This is pretty thick metal, so it might take some force, but we'll see. Alright, so I got it lined up. I'm going to start beginning of the crack where I drilled a hole to relieve the stress, and then I'll just work my way forward. And I'll have to do a little bit of tweaking right here at the end to get those to line up, but shouldn't be a problem. Alright, got it welded up on both sides. So now all I need to do is grind it down and take this out back and coat it with paint stripper. Alright, so I'm gonna, well, I still got some shade. I'm gonna put the paint stripper on here, let it soak, and I'll power wash it off. I decided not to grind my repair down right now because the race starts in 30 minutes. Gotta have priorities. Well, that stripper X stuff was, oh, can't see anything. It was a complete waste. It didn't do anything. Didn't touch the paint at all. So let it dry, and maybe this week I'll use a Scotch-Brite and acetone. See if that strips it off.